Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. It is great to be back. I needed to take some time off to let my voice recover from it being strained last week. It was unfortunate I wasn't able to do our usual live stream hangout on Friday, but this week we'll definitely make that happen. I know lots of people look forward to those live streams, and it's personally my favorite time of the week. So I'm looking forward to the next time I go live, which will be this upcoming Friday. Fortunately, I was able to push through this weekend and make my Red Pill podcast, which is my weekly market wrap-up and technical analysis podcast I do for the Patreon supporters of the Mastermind community. This week, I went over the philosophy behind long-term investing and sort of deconstructing the standard belief system behind bull runs and bear markets. I felt it was important to bring that conversation to life, especially during times like this where a majority of the market participants are becoming polarized in their belief over whether we're in a bull run or a bear market. So during my time being an investor and also an educator in this space, I've learned that the chaos of the crypto market can really become detrimental in someone's day-to-day life. It has its way with people almost like some digital puppet master that holds the strings of your emotions and well-being. I wanted to bring this up to start this video out because I want everyone that has been here either following my work for some length of time, or if you're brand new here and just subscribed to my channel, please know that the life force behind my work comes from a highly conscious perspective. This channel is not for everyone. This is for people operating at a high vibrational consciousness who seek truths. A lot of what I present in my videos might be hard to swallow, but understand that I'm delivering my truths with love. This isn't about being right or wrong, and sadly, that's what a lot of crypto YouTube stuff is being diluted down to. And this isn't about callouts or predictions. This is about creating a community of people that are seeking truths, a community of people that want to share ideas with each other, to continue to expand rather than become divided by differences in belief systems. I bring this up because as a leader, I've personally watched the cryptocurrency market consume people, take someone who was once so strong and made them so fragile, like a porcelain doll. Let's remind ourselves to be grateful every day for what we have, not for what some digital numbers are that are displayed on your portfolio. That is not real life. It's merely a piece of the overall puzzle, but it is not the final image of you. So whether we're in a bull run or a bear market, does it actually matter? Is that what our lives are being reduced down to? Because if your emotions are dictated by the direction of a market, then you are essentially being parasited by the direction of the market. If you can only be happy when the market goes up, then what will you do when the market goes down? You'll just let it control you for your whole existence? That's not a life. That's slavery. There is no freedom in a life like that. If I could do anything with my time here on this earth plane, it is to help someone unlock the freedom they always had. True freedom is not financial. The freedom I'm talking about is access to infinite awareness, a free mind. When you achieve that, you will be truly rich. If I was to give someone who was asleep all the money in the world, they would squander their wealth in the material prison they've allowed themselves to be conditioned into. If you were awake, truly awake, a free mind, a free heart, you could take nothing, simply an idea, and turn that idea into infinite wealth. Literally the definition of turning lead into gold. I'm just here to help as many enlightened beings become alchemists. So if all of that resonates with you, beautiful. And if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. Perhaps this isn't the place for you. I love you regardless, and I wish you the best on your journey. We're all doing our best here to figure out this matrix, and I am so grateful for this community I've built and many of you who have helped me build it. From now on, no more division. Let's focus on what matters most, our connection. We're gonna hear a lot of bull versus bear market and all of this stuff. And during that whole process, we need to manage our emotions and be grateful for what we truly have. This crypto market is not real life. I'll say it again. This crypto market is not real life. We need to shift our focus away from these duality terms such as left and right, Republican, Democrat, flat earth, globe earth, whatever it is, and start to work together. Once we work together, we win for once. And this New World Order, the controllers, whomever you want to call them, they thrive on us self-dividing. They thrive on us hating each other so that it deviates away from them. And the whole time, whether you're giving love or hate, you're giving them energy. All life is a big battery, and we are being energy harvested through these systems. The systems of finances, the systems of religion, the systems of education, the systems of medical, whatever it is. When you go within and find your truth within, and find a community of people who seek that and are at the same level of consciousness as you are, that is where wealth truly lies. So, if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria Numerology and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So just very quickly, I know it's been some time that I've had off. As I've said, I had a very strained voice leading into last week. I wasn't even able to do the live stream, but I was able to make the red pill episode. And during that red pill episode, I actually reiterated some further information regarding downside price levels. So those of you on Patreon, you were completely caught up. Those of you here over on YouTube, I'm just going to do a quick recap to help everyone out. But it actually ended up being a pretty solid set of calls. Again, that's not what this is about, but it was beautiful to see the Gematria code and the numerology that we were using in the last week to see how it all came to life. So first and foremost, I am completely aware that the Federal Reserve will be talking today. I believe they've started already. There will be volatility in the markets. When the Federal Reserve speaks about their plans, it doesn't necessarily react instantaneously in the truthful direction that the market is deciding. It will have some baked in kind of quality to it where the days leading to it, perhaps even weeks leading to it, could be some trend direction, and then it might take 5 days to one trading week after they speak, which would essentially be a week from today, to really kind of form some structure and to give us some resolution. So with this being said, it was beautiful to watch this 22nd date play out and the transition date of the 21st, the day before. Again, the 21 coming back to Saturn through Gematria. And we know Saturn plays a big role in all of this because Satoshi Nakamoto is Saturn, the designer of the Bitcoin white paper. And I've gone over this quite a bit, but for people who are new here, it's a very simple connection. Go study your mythologies and you will learn so much about finances. So with that being said, the transition date of the 21st into the 22nd, again, when it was the 21st in the US, it was the 22nd over there in Australia and parts of the southern eastern hemisphere. And this transition date, the reason why I was paying attention to the 21st, 22nd, 23rd was because of this connection going back to Rosh Hashanah, which is this date right here, the Hebrew New Year, and this connection of this date in particular, the 22nd, because of the following. So for one, this date of September 7th, 2021 was the start of the new Hebrew New Year of the year 5782. And 5,782, again, reduces down to 22. And we are in the Gregorian year of 22. And this was the 22nd day of that year. So this was a very important date. And I also had more to come along with this to add confluence. So the second important note was the date numerology. When doing standard date numerology gives us 11. So we have two master numbers. We have the 11, the new beginnings, and then we have 22, master builder, master destroyer, and then this huge connection right here, which was 137 days between Rosh Hashanah, the start of the Hebrew New Year. And 137 is the 33rd prime number. So we have 11, we have 22, and then we have 33. 137 days being the 33rd prime. Then the final connection was days left in the year at 343. 343 is 7 times 7 times 7. Again, this date right here of September 7th started the Shemitah. The Shemitah is the 7-year sabbatical year in Judaism, and this is practiced in agriculture, but in modern history it is practiced in the market and finances. And this is why every 7 years you have big market chaos. Again, just reiterating this stuff for people who are new here. So this connection of 343 being 7 by 7 by 7, and of course we were getting our lows all around this date time frame, and it was beautiful to watch it all play out. Now, this is something to be said technically as well, because we brought up the $40,000 support level, and if Bitcoin couldn't hold 40K, which we saw once it closed below 40K on the daily, it landslid down and it had a big correction, and that correction went to a technical target that filled the CME gap. And I'm not a huge believer in the CME gaps, but we have seen them fill. We've seen them fill to the upside and the downside on more occasions than not. And that is also in it's not necessarily an indicator, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind. It might be a tertiary reason as to why things are going the way they're going, but we did see a perfect technical fill of the CME gap once the Chicago Mercantile Exchange opened up. So this is another very important thing, and when we get into the technical analysis section of this video, I will be going over that more in depth for you. But for now, let's just look at the code. So today is the 26th of January. There's a couple things to say here. One, the date numerology that we're getting is the 69. That 69 is all about balance, symmetry, yin yang, and this is a number that we know is important now, very, very important for cryptocurrency, because Bitcoin hit its all-time high at 69,000. Also, if we're measuring from the date of the 14th of April, which was the 144 date, and then we measure over 69 days later, pretty sure that was the day we got our bottom. So there is really interesting how this 69 number has played itself throughout, and it's not confusing anymore, because not only have we had the Bitcoin all-time high at 69, but we have one of the key ciphers in Gematria in Saturn coming back to 69. And of course it hit 69 in the year of 2021, right? So we know this is powerful. And Satoshi Nakamoto and his birthday and everything played a huge role in this. The year closed at $46,000 for Bitcoin in the year of Satoshi Nakamoto being 46 years old. Again, Satoshi is turning 47 in April 5th, and that is playing a huge role in my thesis around how the month of April will go, predominantly around Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday. So I will be doing a full comprehensive decode very soon that I'll be sharing on my Patreon, and I will try to break it down a little bit more in depth. It won't be like usual YouTube style, so it'll be something that'll make more sense to be over there for the Mastermind community. But I'm really excited to share more of that information, and as we go through the months, we're going to keep tracking this. We're going to have our price levels to the upside and the downside, but this birthday of Satoshi has been playing a huge role in the behavior of the cryptocurrency market since the genesis, since the start of Bitcoin. And the start of Bitcoin is the start of crypto, at least exoterically. Maybe esoterically, there's stuff going on behind the scenes with the other, intelligence agencies. That's totally possible. At the end of the day, we know that the CIA, FBI, NHS, like all these, these systems are doing things in the background. It's very shady, but we can't necessarily prove that, right? So when we're talking exoteric, we're talking about the stuff that we're allowed to see, the stuff that we know. And when it comes to the very basics, like the birthday of Satoshi and his birthday age, these two things have been playing a huge role in how cryptocurrency behaves year after year after year. It's really fascinating. So anyways, with that being said, we have this date tomorrow, which is pretty interesting, but I just want to cover one more thing because this will be the theme of our year. The number 22 is a theme for this entire year, and also the number 15. Okay, and the date numerology of today is also giving us the 15. Now, this is important because 15 is coming back to Tiger, and Tiger giving us 15. And on the 1st of February, which is coming up very soon, we will be entering the Chinese New Year of the Tiger. And when you watch the iPet Goat 2 movie, that shows you a lot of breakdown, and a lot of, decoders love watching that because there's so much going on in that. You'd have to be very aware of what's going on. You'd have to know a lot of symbolism and understand numerology and perhaps more of the esoteric side of things. But with that being said, there are some very obvious things in that you don't need to know so much information about. And one of the scenes in iPet Goat is this skeleton creature grabbing a lady who has a tiger on her back after she was waving a white flag, which is basically like a surrender or admitting defeat when tanks were approaching her. And this is all very symbolic. So it's interesting. If anyone has more to decode on that, feel free to share. I know a lot of amazing decoders are out there on the internet sharing their thoughts on that particular scene within that small video. And the reason they've been really focused on that scene is because we are moving into the year of the tiger, right? And it's not only that, we also have America's Pluto's return coming up very soon, first time since 1776. We have on the 6th of February, the Platinum Jubilee, the 70th year of the Queen of England. Again, the new variant that has hit the stage that started the market correction. And again, I'm not saying that is the reason necessarily, but it's part of it. It's all part of it. The new variant is the 15th Greek letter, again coming back to Tiger with the 15, and the Queen of England is reigning over 15 Commonwealth realms, including the City of London and the United Kingdom. So it's just interesting how this number 15 is playing itself through. Also, it will be the water tiger. That is the specific year, and that's giving us the 33. The 33 is all about transmutation. So about, turning water into wine, ice into water, lead into gold, etc. So it's all about transmutation, taking one thing and turning it into a completely different thing. And that's what the year of 2022 is all about. It is more of a transition year into the changes that we'll have moving into Agenda 2030. So again, this is a lot of stuff that we talk about on my live streams. So if anyone has any questions and wants to talk about this stuff this upcoming Friday, feel free to take some notes and we'll talk about it this upcoming Friday. Also, excuse my voice. It's not fully healed. So if I, have a little bit of a cough during this video, it's just because I'm still kind of working through healing my vocal cords. So one other thing is tomorrow giving us the 27th. And I'm interested in that because that comes back to Jupiter. And again, Tiger is Jupiter because it is the striped planet. Jupiter's the striped planet, which is the tiger, right? And Jupiter's giving us that 27 in Chaldean, and this will be the 27th day of this year. So it could be interesting tomorrow how the energy is going to be, especially because today we're getting that balance. We had the 69 here, and this 15 and the 69 with the yin yang, this kind of idea of balance, and how we were really looking bad over the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of January. And now we're starting to kind of get a little bit of green, a little bit of balance, and that could be all coded in. It's really beautiful to see how just with basic numerology, you could perceive what's going on here. But this 27, again, something to be concerned, to look out for. And then we have this 70 with the date numerology and the new variant, the Omi, what I'm about to say, that has the Greek isopsephy value of 70. Okay, so not only is it the 15th Greek letter, but it has the value in Greek isopsephy, which is kind of like Gematria. Gematria is Hebrew, by the way. But anywho, in Greek isopsephy, the letter Omicron is 70 is the value. So that's another thing to be said. And remember, we are moving into the 70th anniversary of the Queen of England. So whenever I see the 70s, I think about the sevens, and that comes back to Shemitah, the 7-year cycle. Every 7 years, we have financial chaos. So this is an amazing setup. And of course, the month of January was very, very powerful in the crypto market. We haven't really seen a market crash level stuff going on in the Dow Jones or the other indices, but we're absolutely seeing a bigger correction. And this is unusual to get. But during Shemitah, anything goes. Literally, we've seen the healthiest uptrends in Shemitah years completely become destabilized just by some sort of ritual psyop, like a war or a bombing or just something going on in the world stage. For instance, in 2000 and 1999, that dot-com bubble crash, which led to eventually 9/11, they ended Shemitah with 9/11 ritual, and the rest is history. You know how it went from there. And since the C word, if you take from the date of 9/11 over to March 11th of 2020, the start of the pandemic, you get 222 months. So the 222, just like this is the year of 222, is so important, guys. And it's been something that I've been talking about since the beginning of my work. Once we started really decoding the tiger and the water tiger, this has been so fascinating, especially including the the imagery that was given to us with iPic Goat 2. So with that being said, tomorrow could be an interesting date. Also, this date will be within a 5-day window before the new moon. And the new moon is on February 1st, which is the start of the Chinese New Year. I'm sort of leaning on a short-term uptrend for now, very short term, with a potential double bottom into like early February, maybe like 4 or 5 days after the new moon, like February 5th, February 6th, something like that. Or perhaps the latest, the double bottom fills by sometime on the full moon of February. So typically we see our microcycle bottom around a full moon. Again, we just saw our microcycle bottom potentially coming in about 6 full days after the full moon. So it's within a window of time, of course, but typically it's not just the bottom, it's just the bearish energy. So around full moons, we're getting bearish energy. That has not changed. Around new moons, sans anytime we have an eclipse, we typically get a microcycle high or a bullish energy. So as we pass through up to 5 days after a full moon, we typically start to see recovery into a uptrend. That's basically how it's been working. That's how I've been talking about it for almost a year on this channel. And since I've brought this up, we've seen a lot more YouTubers who do crypto start to talk about it, and that's beautiful. I'm actually quite I'm happy that people have made this connection and it started to give some more, attention to how astrology plays its role, basic astrology plays its role in this market. So if I had to sum up how I'm feeling about this, and I'll have one key date to share in a second, but if I had to sum this all up, I do think that we can start to consider a double bottom scenario, most likely sometime either super like near the end of this month, a very quick flash down, or most likely early February into mid-February. I believe the mid-February full moon is like the 16th or 15th of February. It's about, pretty early in the month, actually. So it gives some time for a full-blown recovery for the crypto market and the market as a whole by the end of February. So we still have a little more time. It's kind of like where I'm going with this. So now one final thing in this decode is we have January 29th. And this day is interesting to me because when we do the date numerology the way I like to do it with double digits, we're getting that 72. And we're also getting 144 days since Rosh Hashanah. So the 144 is really important in cryptocurrency because since the last halving in Bitcoin on May 5th, I believe it was, around May 5th, Bitcoin was halved, and this halving brought it down to 144 blocks mined per day. So of course the scarcity model is really interesting, but to have it be exactly this 144 number, which is the square root of 12 or the 12 Fibonacci number, it's really interesting how this plays in on this particular date, 144 days since the start of Shemitah. And then this is even crazier. When you take these dates and you multiply as it's done down here, which is a rare form of doing numerology, but you can see that it also gives you the 144. When you take January multiplied by 2 multiplied by 9 for the days, and then the 222, removing the zeros from the rules of numerology, when you multiply them all together, you get 144. 144 days since the start of Shemitah. You get the 72 date numerology when adding up double digits, and you also get it when you're doing multiplying without that other 2. Assuming the year just 22, which is the way a lot of us write the year date. So I'm super interested in this, man. This date is pretty Pretty awesome. Also, we're getting standard date numerology of the 18. We know that 18 is important in Judaism, and it comes back to Venus. There's really no connection here. Venus is a Friday, Viernes, but the transition date, again, going into a Saturday. The fact that this is the day of Saturn, that we're landing on this particular date with all these number connections, I'm thinking this is going to be a special day. So if you had to write down a day that I think will be important before I make my next YouTube video, it's most likely the 29th. But I'll show you one more thing, and this could be helpful for people. Again, this is not financial advice, but I would not be surprised if Algorand or Dogecoin did really well on this particular day, because we have the 72 and the 144 connection, just like we get with Dogecoin. 72 here and 144, and also in the same exact ciphers we have Algorand, and there's a couple other coins that fulfill the 144 as well, like VThor token gives us that 144. But with Algorand in particular, because of the structure in the chart and the way it's been looking, it does look like it's ready to pop. So it would just be amazing to see this all come into fruition. This code is really important. We also have the 36, which is the 3 sixes, the 666. I've showed you guys that many times. So I'm interested in how this is all going to play out. Again, this isn't me telling you to go FOMO into Algorand or Dogecoin. I'm just saying, like, this is the way you could use the code. And I said I would not be surprised if we saw a little bit of action for these two particular coins. And with the 72, of course, we also have Bitcoin with the 72. And if Bitcoin moves, everything moves, So right now we're seeing a little bit of Bitcoin dominance recovery. I think Bitcoin dominance is around 42, which was a pretty substantial bounce from the 38 to 39 level that it was at. Typical after we get a big flush out in Bitcoin, which also flushes out the altcoins, once Bitcoin recovers, it starts to regain dominance after any big over corrective moves. Like admittedly, when we look at the RSI on the daily on most of these altcoins and Bitcoin, they've reached levels that are as low as the C word crash back in March. That's dramatic. There's a very dramatic sell-off in this crypto market with very little catalyst and reasoning as for why this sell-off should be happening. And so far, it's almost looked like a V-shaped recovery. This isn't me saying that we're just going to go straight to 44K Bitcoin right now, but we really have two ways of recovering in a oversold bigger correction. It's either a V-shaped recovery, which happens very fast, within a week to 2 weeks tops, and then we have a double bottom. The double bottom typically looks like a W pattern. So I'll break that down with the TA, but I wanted to talk about this particular day mostly because of that 72. Of course, we have that 18, and then it will be the 2-9 date. We could perceive 2-9 as 29 as 2 nines, and that comes back to 99, and 99 comes back to Jupiter also. So lots of connections here. It'd be interesting to see how this particular day plays out. Again, very close to the monthly close, and it's about like 4 days out from the start of Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year leaves 333 days left in the year, and the 2-2 date is the 33rd day of the year. The 2-2 in the 222 year. So you guys know I'm going to be covering early February dates, but for anyone who wants to, have a little bit more ahead of schedule, I already did post something about the 2-2 and the 2-1 dates over there on my Patreon for the Mastermind community supporters. That's at patreon.com/watersabove. And I already gave a starting decode for the year of the tiger, which has to deal with a little bit of metaverse and the picture. Actually, they posted a little video showing the tiger eating the ox, and that is all symbology because we've left the year of the ox in Chinese New Year, and we are entering the year of the tiger. So metaverse is showing us the truth ahead of schedule. That's how they always do it. And that's kind of the beauty of once you wake up and you start to see the symbols, you can start to decode them and prepare yourself ahead of time, as we're trying to do on this channel, as we are doing on this channel, actually. So I hope all this information has helped with this decode. 29th is looking pretty juicy. Tomorrow we have the 27th day of the year, again coming back to Jupiter. So let's get into what's going on right now. Now, I do want to actually kick this one off talking about the Dow Jones very quickly, because the Dow has taken a huge dump. But if we look at the levels that it has back tested, I'm going to leave the lunar phases on for this. So this is the Dow Jones, the US 30. You can see that actually it did come all the way up to the 1618, which is the golden ratio in Fibonacci, pulling a fib from before the dump around late February down to the crash lows of the C-word crash in March. And you can see that this actually broke through the golden pocket and started testing the top of the golden pocket like very quickly. This was a complete manipulation flush out, right? It was a reset of the market. It wasn't a crash. I mean, it felt like a crash for like a couple of weeks, but a recovery this fast leading to new highs in the structure in 6 months? That's, yeah. Anyone who studies traditional markets knows what the hell I'm talking about right now. That is absolute ridiculous, especially for an indice, an index of companies. Now, after reaching the 1618, hitting and topping out on the 5th of January, again, the 5th of January is the date of 1-5, which comes back to the new variant, which comes back to Tiger, 1-5. It's not coincidence, guys. So, anywho, hitting this number also around 36,000, 36 is 666. So, again, it's just amazing. Like, once you learn the numbers and what they mean and how to perceive them, it blows your mind. But so where we came down to is actually a critical support level. We back tested a level which wanted to hold and has continued to hold on most of the larger corrections, let's just say, for the Dow. Now, when you couple this bigger correction after hitting a technical upside target, you got your top at the 1618, a little bit of a correction with a higher low. Then you have a little bit of a higher high, but getting above the 1618 and not being able to hold any closures on macro candles. I mean, this is a technical move, guys. This isn't like panic zone, So I just want to calm people down. When you look at the chart technically, this is perfectly fine. Also, this wick low is pretty much in line with backtesting the lows of June and also the highs of somewhat of a resistance going back to March, which will be a full calendar year after this larger correction. So this has had enough time actually to build and go in this trend. I know it looks dramatic, but this isn't as nearly as dramatic as the NASDAQ. So the Dow has been interesting, and I bring this up for those of you that want me to talk about the indices a little bit more, want me to talk about the stock market a little more, because the Dow in particular does have a huge correlation between the movement of Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin moves, the altcoins move. Therefore, when the Dow has correlation with Bitcoin, we could consider that as part of our overall analysis. Now, we have had the Dow go to oversold levels, oversold past lows of June on relative strength index, but not nearly as low as it got around the March crash. So there is room to go. I mean, the bounce has been very V-shape recovery like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this starts to look typical of a bounce on the Dow. You could see the V here, then the V here, but we always typically have a double test, kind of like a W structure. So this, again, it's something that I anticipate. We have a resistance around 35 because that's the level of resistance. And then we also have a potential of coming down for another retest. And that would not be weird into the full moon of February. You're going to see why I'm bringing this up as we go along. Now, not only that, we're going to quickly look at the NASDAQ because the NASDAQ has definitely started to break structure. So when we're looking at the NASDAQ, we can see that this was way more dramatic, almost like a cryptocurrency, where we have the fib pulled from the highs going back before the dump in March of 2020 down to the swing low of March, the end of the crash. And you can see this thing just straight up V-shape recovered straight to the 1618. Once it started closing multiple weeks above the 1618, it made it to the 2618 and literally almost got to the 3618. That is insanity for an index, but this is mostly tech stocks. The tech sector lately has been getting fleeced, and we've seen now that the NASDAQ's RSI is actually lower on the lows recently than the C-word crash. That is insane, okay? So this shit is getting really oversold really dramatically, and it's not because of any real thing that has happened in the market. It is solely because of the Fed talking. They haven't changed interest rates. This doesn't even go into effect until March, and they might not even go into effect, actually. So with that being said, it's pretty wild that just them talking about something can create such a dramatic sell-off. If that is the catalyst, that shows you how manipulated this market is by just talking. Like, no fundamental thing has really changed here. Especially for crypto and disinflationary crypto like Bitcoin. and truly deflationary cryptos like Binance token, and there's a ton of them. There's no fundamental change in this crypto market. This is solely based off of the Fed and how they're discussing this interest rate jargon. So it's really fascinating actually to see it from a more esoteric perspective, how it's all coded in, but more importantly, how dramatic the regular market has become. Once there's so much funny money in the market, people actually don't understand how to evaluate a decision anymore, how to evaluate a investment decision, because the reasoning behind everyone getting into stocks post the 2008 housing crisis was because of the introduction of QE, quantitative easing, and this idea of just infinite printing of money and dilution of the money supply. People wanted to start looking to hedge their bets by, essentially putting it in risk assets. Now what we've seen lately is just the conversation behind interest rates, tapering, etc. from the Fed. People have started to move money out of risk assets, and that is causing this landslide effect in the market. When it gets oversold really fast, though, especially on an indice, we could use this RSI as a gauge of this thing needs to have some relief. It can't just keep sliding down unless there's a black swan, unless they shut down the whole world again, or unless, they introduce the digital dollar overnight, something very quick, immediate, that's real, not just talk, just real change. That, of course, can create a huge market correction. But with that being said, this correction that we're getting, especially the time of the year that we're getting it, is not very normal. Typically, we get our large, big destructive corrections in the September, October, November timeframe, which we're far out from right now. And technically with oversold RSI on the daily, it's kind of weird to expect this to continue. So getting a little bit of relief on the Dow and some of the other indices and also some tech stocks would not be weird, because it's the Fed's job to actually save the day. The Fed's job is just to print more money and keep this market propped up. Now, last thing to be said would be the DXY. The DXY is rebounding very nicely off this bounce that it had. The bounce was a technical area, pretty much going back to the prior resistance, came down, retested it as support. Very nice bounce, but still we do have lower highs. So with these lower highs and the way this is going, you're definitely going to get divergences along the way that are, bullish divergences. But anyways, what's more important here is just pay attention to trend. This is a very V-shaped like recovery for the dollar. So this manipulation of the downside was done on purpose to fake out traders, people who are trading Forex and people who are, because what we're seeing right now with the amount of a sell-off that we've gotten in the market as a whole does not facilitate lower highs on the DXY. We should actually have a breakout and a full-blown trend reversal for the DXY somewhere into the 97, 98 by now. So where is this money going? This money is not, you see where I'm going with this? The money has to go somewhere. And people need to remember that as part of their analysis. When they're looking at charts and they're looking at all these things, they need to think to themselves, where is this money going? Where's it going? The DXY is on a downtrend. It broke lows in the structure, multiple higher lows. So we have a lower low, we have higher lows, and we've even messed around a little bit sub 382 fib level. So this is kind of the area where if we get rejected over and over again, we could have, a reason for a little bit of bullish relief into the month of February, March, etc. So that's a positive thing. But we just don't know how this whole Fed thing is going to go. And that's really the kind of like the waiting game here. Unfortunately, it's just the way things go. When we have the main money printer of the world giving all this liquidity to whomever, every nook and cranny of the market in the year of 2020 and 2021 was being filled by the central banks and the Fed. Well, of course, you have a market rally. And what shows up in the crypto market as an extremely nascent asset class with a lot of useless technologies that aren't ready to be implemented on the world stage, you have a huge wipeout, because a lot of this stuff wasn't being traded by big companies. It was being injected with liquidity from leverage and stable coins. And now the holders, since the sell-off, have weak hands. And that's why the crypto sector is a little bit more difficult to be a part of unless you just wait and zoom out and look at the long-term picture. Sure, we get 95% corrections in the altcoins, but also the altcoins generate 20, 30, 40, 50,000% gains. So if you look at like a Digibyte chart or a Dogecoin chart or something that at least has some chart history over 5 years, you can see the reason behind venture capital. So these are just words of wisdom to get people to be a little bit more calm and also a little bit more long term. Because however this shakes out, unless a coin goes to fucking zero, which even the biggest shit coins of all time have made it through the 2018, 2019, kind of that bearish phase. We've seen absolutely useless technologies make it through the crash of 2018 and into a huge run up in the year of 2021. That's undeniable. We have the charts to prove that. And there's going to be crazes along the way. And I think right now what we're waiting for is the New World Order to release some sort of catalyst to push this market where it needs to go, either to wipe out the final weak hands or to create a FOMO alt season. I'm more in the kind of territory of we should have a FOMO alt season, at least in the coins that are suppressed that have yet to make big runs up, like Neo Dash, XRP for sure, etc. There's a ton of them, right? And this is typically the way it goes. When you have Bitcoin get very, very oversold really quickly after hitting an all-time high, which I'll show you right now because we should probably move into the Bitcoin analysis. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. We have an all-time high followed by a very dramatic slide down with no relief along the way. Eventually, once you get very oversold, you have a run up, and this relief rally comes up into a bull trap. This bull trap is typically within the golden pocket, and not the overall golden pocket. You would have the one where you pull from the local high, which is, I believe, 69,000, down to this local low, assuming that is the low. And you would go anywhere from the 0.5 fib to the 702 fib would typically be the level of a bull trap. Now, this 702 is in perfect alignment essentially with the 786 of the larger fib pull, which will be Bitcoin back in April down to the swing low of June. And again, you have confluence. So you can safely say that there's a potential for Bitcoin to come up to 51,000 as high as 62, about 62. That would be, I would say 61, because that's in line with the 888 fib on the more macro pull, and it is in line with the top of the golden pocket. When we look at the last bull run, it came up to the 702 fib on this fib pull, the fib pull from the local all-time high to the local swing low. So that would be around 58,200. Bitcoin recovering up that much, especially by like April, would generate a massive flow of liquidity after Bitcoin dominance tops out and moves into altcoins. And I don't think I'm alone on that way of perceiving things. I've had a lot of top analysts that I even speak to personally that have told me that this is a short-term bear phase for Bitcoin. But when we look at it in regards to the reaction that Bitcoin could have somewhat of a relief bull trap, which has liquidity flow into the altcoins, this can generate a massive surge of liquidity for the altcoins and have a true blow off top end of the bull run for the entire sector. Right now, what we've seen is Bitcoin could have topped out, right? That's just, we have to live with that. Bitcoin has been trading for 13 years. The 4-year cycle idea has broken, and we have moved on now. We have to be kind of more open-minded to how this goes. But we still also, at the end of the day, do not know how this is going to shake out. What happens if in April, Bitcoin is at 57K, and out of nowhere, Apple or Amazon comes out and says, hey, we've just converted 20% of our balance sheet to Bitcoin? You think Bitcoin's going to roll over at 57? No, it's going to go straight to fucking 80. And we can't determine that. It just happens. It's random. We saw it happen over here with Tesla when Bitcoin literally had a day where it went up 20% in a single daily candle after it already had a run up from 10K to 40K, right? So this shit just comes out of nowhere. Seriously. And I'm not trying to be a moon boy and push hype. I don't think that that's likely, by the way. I'm just telling you that's the way that crypto works. It just blindsides you. The same way it sells off heavily, it could be bought back and hit new highs. It's just how it goes. So we need to protect ourselves, but we also need to be long-term about this because nobody knows exactly how this is going to shake out. Technically, the way that it should shake out is probably a bull trap rollover, dominance flows into the altcoins, and then coins that have been suppressed for most of this bull run should have a beautiful run up. This isn't hype. This is technical analysis and how prior cycles have played out, not only in crypto, but how they play out in tech stocks, how they play out in anything, any chart. People think it's a sole crypto thing, but having an all-time high plus a big sell-off plus a bull trap followed by a rotation of liquidity, that's been going on for literally 80 years, 90 years in certain stocks. So I hope that helps, because a lot of people have had a lot of questions and they're wondering, like, what's going on and how is water so calm through all of this and all of that. And it's because, well, first of all, I've been investing in Bitcoin since it was $7,000. So I've lived through these big shakeouts. It's just another day in the matrix for me. And I'm working week by week, month by month to help other people get to that level emotionally, to be more calm. I just do it so much. I'm like more a therapist than I am a technical analyst, because that's really what crypto investing is. It's like people need therapy in this game. It's like they don't even need to actually learn the charts. If they could get their emotions controlled, then they could actually truly learn what's going on day to day in this crazy chaotic market. So I don't want to make this video too long, but essentially what I see going on here, I'll share the technicals for you guys to help out on how this can be going. But one thing we do need to say, if I didn't say it before, the hash ribbons indicator absolutely failed. So this indicator, it typically works where we see a buy signal flash, we note the daily close on the lows going back to when the buy signal flashes, and we typically do not see daily closes below that level ever again. There's one instance before this happened, and it was during the C word crash. Now, the C word crash that I keep talking about, it's showing up in a lot of technical things that are going on that I just showed you earlier, like the NASDAQ being as oversold as it was going back to that time. Also, a lot of cryptos right now are as oversold on daily RSI as they were back in the COVID crash. So this is showing us that this was another anomaly. And this indicator is proving to us now that we cannot rely solely on any indicator. It's just an indicator. I heard some people saying like, well, you said we won't go below this. It's no, dude, I'm not saying that we will or anything is possible in the matrix. First of all, I say that all the time. Anything is possible. A market does three things: up, down, sideways, right? What's most probable? We need to use our tools to be able to determine that. I'm just here using tools, right? But this isn't a dictator of how I invest. You can't use an indicator to determine, or one single indicator to determine your entire trading setup. That's madness. Who would ever teach such a thing, right? So this hash ribbons indicator, it's still interesting how it's been working. Again, if we recover through this and get back on tonight's close, we were really only below this closure level for 4 trading days. And if we were to stay above this, maybe get to this red dev line, get rejected, come back and double bottom, or not double bottom, but back test this key level and then bounce from there, well, then we were only invalidating this move for less than a week, and it's a blink of an eye in a long-term vision. So this indicator still is pretty spot on. It has a crazy hit rate. I mean, I think there's about 16 to 18 iterations right now, and only 2 of them are failures. So that's fucking incredible. When you look at other indicators, they have way less accuracy than this one. So just to let people know, this indicator, it did have a discrepancy. That's completely fine. It's a fucking indicator. It's not there's no 100% how this will absolutely go when you're using just a single indicator. You have to combine all things. And this is what brings me to the last part of the Bitcoin analysis, which is the CME gap, and that filled. So let's just quickly look at what was going on there. So we had a gap coming back right here, and this gap was started around July into, around the full moon of July. We blasted straight up pretty much, had a little bit of a back test after the Rosh Hashanah correction, but since we literally perfectly filled that CME gap on that bounce, and considering the same day we closed on a positive, we actually closed on a green candle. That's a normal structure when you have a bottom liquidity shakeout. You could see it happen right here on the 22nd of June. The low in the structure still ended the day green. Okay. And that also, going back to the C word crash, if you go to Friday the 13th, March 13th, actually it won't show up on the CME chart, but it'll show up on the Bitcoin chart. I'll show you right now. You could actually see that the lowest day we got during that crash, this day right here, was a 16% gain. So it was absolutely liquidity flush out, clearing out longs, just resetting the leverage, uh, open interest, all of that jazz, getting extreme fear. But then the day overall was cleared green by a huge green candle, 16% to the upside. So now this is really interesting to see how this played out, because this entire structure, even though we did invalidate the buy signal flash on the hash ribbons indicator, we got a perfect gap fill on that CME and a green candle bounce same day, and the recovery is looking pretty nice. I do have this trend line. It's not a perfect trend line. Again, it's just a trend line, so it's not perfect at the wicks or the candle bodies. It's just the general trend. So if this breaks, I would not be surprised if it gets rejected somewhere at the prior support, which would be somewhere around 40,800 on the CME chart, followed by a return down, maybe to back test these closure lows, and that would be your double bottom. So let me show you the levels here on Bitcoin, and then we're going to wrap this up. So Bitcoin would be technical on the 236 holding from now on, but because we've pierced through those lower levels, it's very normal for Bitcoin to do something like this, where you could see it goes down and then trades up, a little bit of relief, and then quickly returns back, forms a little bit of a structure. We also saw this happen back here, where we had huge sell-off followed by a fake out. Then you came back down, filled your prior wick from the May 19th fill, and then came up and then downtrend into filling out this whole entire trading area. This on your VPVR indicator will build a ton of support, right? Ton of support down here. And if I zoom out, you could see another key thing would be the POC, the point of control, should actually be somewhere around that level of the 30. Yep, right there, boom, 34,300. So you see where this red line is, the POC, from the breakout going back of 2020 into 2021. All throughout here was our main support level, and we actually perfectly bounced off that POC, point of control. So, I mean, this is a very technical level to come down to, which tells me that obviously our range is 33,000 upwards of our local high, which is right here at 44,300. If Bitcoin can recover above 44.4, that will be the level where we start to see or anticipate our bull trap, something where Bitcoin comes into the mid 50s. Now, with that being said, on the lows, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin had a double bottom to come, not a V-shaped recovery. If we get a V-shaped recovery and get straight over 44K, awesome. Whoever bought the dip, congratulations. But most likely we have a double bottom play. That's just how it goes. So last thing, and this will be another technical thing to share. This might be able to help some people out. When we're perceiving what's going on here on the ETH chart, I'm going to remove this bigger fib. I'm going to remove this fib right here, and I'm going to remove these moon phases. I'm going to teach you guys something that might be helpful. Essentially, what we're going to do to figure out these levels is we're going to go from the local high in the structure around December 24th, and we're going to go to that local low on the bounce right there around June 10th. But I'm going to pull from June 10th and do a bearish retrace up here to the high on December 4th. And you could see this, or sorry, the 24th, which is right here. Boom. So you see high in the structure right there after multiple lower highs. And then you could see pulling off of the breakout area. So this was the area that needed to hold, got our fake out, and you could see we perfectly backtested the 1618. So because ETH has drowned out so quickly, so dramatically, and we've gotten RSI levels all the way down to 21, which is pretty much the same as the C-word lows. Actually, we went even lower on daily RSI. This is a technical level that we retested when doing a bearish retrace. So some people might not know how to do the bearish retrace or how to use this fib in a more technical format, and this would be one of the ways you do it. So essentially all I'm doing is taking from the breakout low up to the high in the structure. I know that could confuse people, but play around with this and you're going to see that it helps a lot, especially for people doing scalp trades. So something that I wanted to bring up could be a little bit helpful for those of you that are learning TA and getting a little bit more intermediate to the more advanced level in TA. This could help. So backtesting that 1618, beautiful. This tells me that the next level we want to get above is the golden pocket, which is obvious. It's right there at that high in the local structure. We have levels here. So we have obviously the golden pocket closure above 3,400, excuse me. Then you would anticipate next move up is the 236. Once you get above the high right here, that's a recovery. And then you would anticipate potential continuation. Until then, it's just a lower low in the structure going back to here, which is very bearish. So back testing level could be figured out through this bearish fib. But as long as we're holding these lows going back to the summer, this is still a uptrend. It's still a macro bull trend. Breaking the lows in the structure here, sure, it does look ugly. Some people, some analysts would confirm this as a bear market at this position. But for me, I do not call bear market because the overall macro structure has the lows down here, and that's completely fine. We've seen this happen with cryptos before where they hit all-time highs, have massive drownouts, and it's just to trap liquidity. That's all it's to do. The goal of the Federal Reserve and the central banks is to take your money. So that's what they do. I know it sucks, but that's just part of the game. And when you learn TA, and, go back to the intro of this video and really listen to the words that were being shared, because I think they will help so many people, or at least help the people who've been watching my work get a lot more, a solidified vibe of what we're doing here, what we're really trying to do here, which is free minds, creating spiritual wealth, because with that, you unlock the power of manifestation, and then you can have any outcome you want. The problem with most people is they don't take care of that stuff first. They get so focused on the outcome and they do not enjoy the process. Right here, everything that I'm sharing with you guys with Gematria Numerology Astrology, the TA, that's part of the process. You put your time and effort into this process and you're going to see that result show up. It's all about patience, and it's all about controlling emotions. So let's see how the rest of this day and the rest of this week goes. I do see a little bit of relief coming into the traditional market. That, again, hopefully will bring some pressure to the downside for the DXY, and all of this will add up to short-term recovery for Bitcoin, and then therefore we could hope that we see that bullish recovery in the altcoins and potentially even an alt season. I still see that alt season coming into around late March, perhaps even late April, but April is the month. So with that being said, have a beautiful rest of your day in the Matrix. I'm excited to do the live stream with you guys on this Friday. This was absolutely the longest YouTube video I've ever done, but I feel like after taking all those days off, this one was packed with information that could help everyone out. So enjoy the rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.